जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यामुनतीर वनचारी। यामुनतीर वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यामुनतीर वनचारी। यामुनतीर वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यामुनतीर वनचारी। यामुनतीर वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Thank you. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parvikacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parvikacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopana Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Prabhupada. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Hirdayat Nasto Preyo Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 4, Text 12. Tokanam Pitarau Bandhu Drisha Pakshma Striya Patihi Prajanam Bhikshunam Grihi Agyanam Buddha Surit Tokanam Pitarau Bandhu Drisha Pakshma Striyapatihi Pati Prajanam Bhukshinam Griya Gyanam Buddha Surit Tokanam Pitarau Bandhu Drisha Pakshma Striyapatihi Pati Prajanam Bhukshunam Griya Gyanam Buddha Surit Tokanam Pitarau Bandhu Drisha Pakshma Striyapatihi Pati Prajanam Bhukshunam Griya Gyanam Buddha Surit Tokanam Pitarau Bandhu Nam Griya Gyanam Buddha Surit Tokanam Pitarau Bandhu Drisha Pakshma Striyapatihi Tokanam Pitarau Bandhu Bhikshunam Yagyanam Buddhasurit Taukanam Pitarau Bandhu Trisha Pakshmastriyapatihi Prati Prajanam Bhikshunam Surit. Anyone else? Taukanam Pitarau Bandhu Prati Prajanam Bhikshunam Grihi Yagyanam Buddhasurit. Anyone else would like to try? Synonyms: Taukanam, of children; Pitarau, the two parents; Bandhu, the friends; Drishaha, of the eye; Pakshma, the eyelid; Striyaha, of the women; Patihi, the husband; Patihi, the protector; Prajanam, of the subjects; Bhikshunam, of the beggars; Grihi, the householder; Agyanam, of the ignorant; Buddha, the learned; Surit, the friend. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As the father and mother are the friends and maintainers of their children, as the eyelid is a protector of the eye, as the husband is the maintainer and protector of a woman, as the householder is the maintainer and protector of beggars, and as the learned is the friend of the ignorant, so the king is a protector and giver of life to all his subjects. The trees are also subjects of the king, therefore they should be given protection. Purport. By the supreme will of the Personality of Godhead, there are various protectors and maintainers for helpless living entities. The trees are also considered prajās, subjects of the king, and therefore the duty of the monarch is to protect even the trees, not to speak of others. The king is duty-bound to protect the living entities in his kingdom. Thus, although the parents are directly responsible for the protection and maintenance of their children, the duty of the king is to see that all parents do their duty properly. Similarly, the king is also responsible for overseeing the other protectors mentioned in this verse. It may also be noted that the beggars who should be maintained by the householders are not professional beggars, but sannyasis and brahmanas, to whom the householders should supply food and clothing. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitamtam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sita Devi Pranamami Hare Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sundibhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So this sixth canto is titled the prescribed duties for mankind. So I'll be discussing duties and protection in society. And like what my spiritual master mentioned yesterday, the higher position that one is in, the more responsibilities he has. So, and these are actually signs of a healthy society, that everyone is being protected and everyone's being maintained and everyone is advancing in spiritual life. And advancement doesn't mean producing computers, or it doesn't mean to increase the life's conveniences, or the advancement does not mean engineering faster cars. That's actually a society of consumerism and capitalism, where the poor innocent public are being controlled and manipulated. And even if one has a brand new Ferrari, what is the use if you are stuck in traffic? And even if you have a Lamborghini, it doesn't mean you're not going to have a flat tire. So that means even the owners of these luxurious cars, they are prone to the four miseries of life: birth, death, old age, and disease. And after the Kurukshetra war was finished, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was confused. He didn't like what had happened. So he went to Bhishma Dev by the instructions of Krishna. And Bhishma Dev, he gave him instructions on how to run a kingdom. And he says something interesting. He says that the sign of a good society is how well they treat the women. But in Kali Yuga, how are we treating the women? Exploitation. We use them for commercials, advertisement, things like that. And there's a saying that in the past, we use things and we love people. Now we love things and we use people. So it's the opposite. It's Kali Yuga. And practically, you see this everywhere. It's very prominent. Exploitation and characteristics of miserly persons. And what is a miser? A kripana is described as someone who has resources, but he doesn't utilize it properly. Like billionaires, multi-billionaires. They have so much money in the bank, in their safe, but they don't even use it. And their biggest mistake is that they think they can hold on to this wealth even at the time of death. They forget Mrityu Sarva Haraschaham. Krishna comes as death to take everything away. When I go on book distribution and when I see nicely dressed people, I like to remind them that. Even if you make trillions of dollars, you can't bring one penny with you in your next life. And so the father and the mother are the friends and maintainers of the children. And Chanika Pandit, he quotes the Niti Shastras, and he says that one should be lenient with the son for the first 5 years. For the next 10 years, one should be very strict. And when the son reaches at the age of 16, he should treat him like a friend. And Srila Prabhupada, he exhibited this with his disciples. He displayed these three kinds of relationships. In the early days, no one didn't know what devotional service was. They didn't know who Krishna was. They didn't know what serving a spiritual master meant. And so Srila Prabhupada, he was very lenient with his disciples. And he called it kindergarten of spiritual life. So this was a display of Srila Prabhupada's mercy and kindness. And what did Srila Prabhupada do after they advanced? He was more, you can say, he was more strict in that sense. And Srila Prabhupada's father, even he didn't want to chastise Prabhupada. He was very lenient with them while he was growing up. And Srila Prabhupada, he loved his father as a pure devotee and a most affectionate well-wisher. And another example of a good father is Jagannath Mishra, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father. Even when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was mischievous, he gave him lessons in morality after rebuking him. And there was a Brahmin that appeared to him in a dream, and he told him, "You made a mistake by chastising the Supreme Personality of Godhead." But Jagannath Mishra, he said something that was interesting. He said, "This boy may be a demigod, he may be a mystic yogi or a saintly person. It doesn't matter what he is my son. It is the duty of a father to educate his son in both religion and morality. It is the duty of the father to instruct his son. And I love Maharaj's example. If you don't teach your child to brush his teeth or force him to go to school, by the time he's an adult, he's a toothless idiot. So what do we see today? It's the opposite. You know, when you go to a Balboa Park, people are, the children, they're dressed however they want to dress. And they say and do whatever the child wants. Little kids, they're cursing, they're using foul language. 5, 7, yeah. And the parents are just laughing like it's normal. So that's a sign of our degraded society here. And these teenagers, they have so much facial piercings. Like, they look very, what's the right word? Not scary, but they look distorted. You know, their faces, they have big, anyway. Everyone has free will. They can do whatever they want, but the parents, they should have obligations. And what can we expect from the youth if they are starting on the wrong path? And one thing Srila Prabhupada did not approve of was discipline without love. And neither did he believe in using the stick. He told the teachers in the Gurukulas that you can show the stick, but you can't use them. Yeah. And so once the kindergarten days are over, Srila Prabhupada, he would gradually become stricter with his disciples. And Hari Shari Prabhu, in his Transcendental Diary, he explained that there were 3 stages of Srila Prabhupada's anger. When Srila Prabhupada was mildly angry, he would speak sarcastic words. And if his anger was greater, his lower lip would tremble. If a disciple committed a great offense, Prabhupada would not speak to the offending disciple. But Srila Prabhupada, he never held a grudge against his disciples. He had this policy of forgive and forget. And there's a pastime. When Srila Prabhupada was in Calcutta, there was a devotee that was assigned to drive him to the airport. And this devotee was a householder. So when he had the car, he took the opportunity to do some errands. So he got caught in traffic, and he didn't make it in time to drive Prabhupada. So Prabhupada began to criticize the devotee, and he called him a stubborn rascal. He's only interested in sense gratification. Later, the householder, he heard about Prabhupada's anger, and he wrote a humble letter of apology. And Prabhupada dismissed the situation as no longer important. And this indicates that Prabhupada's anger was purposeful and not uncontrolled. Prabhupada did everything for a reason. And one time, Srila Prabhupada corrected the Mayapur temple managers. And one of them wrote back and expressed his hurt feelings at Prabhupada's words. And Srila Prabhupada told the Mayapur temple managers that he should not be depressed when he corrects them. As a spiritual master, it is the duty to find faults in the disciples, even if there are none. And pleasing the spiritual master is the key to success in spiritual life. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado, yasya prasadad nagati topi. By the mercy of Guru, one can achieve the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if the Guru is not pleased, he doesn't have a place. And a disciple, he should always remain a fool in front of his spiritual master. But he should not be a fool. There's a big difference. And we should strive to mature in Krishna consciousness. As a disciple matures, his relationship with the Guru becomes more founded on friendship. Although the disciple always remains as the Guru's servant. And so that friendship, it can be a sign or a symptom of the disciple's maturity. Srila Prabhupada describes in one letter that in the beginning, the disciple doesn't act independently. He must take instruction on every point. And as the disciple grows, he internalizes the Guru's instructions and is awarded more freedom. It's nice, huh? So in the material world, the householder or the head of the family, the father, he works so hard, right, day and night, to provide for the family. But where is he going at the time of death? He's going to meet Yamaraj. And see, that's the tricky part. These karmis, they think they're doing a good job by maintaining their family, by providing food, but he has no idea who Krishna is, about devotional service. So he's giving them meat to eat, but he thinks that it's good for the family, but he's ignorant of that fact. And for the householder, sometimes there's cultures. Do you know how they treat the grandfathers? Yeah. He says that there's some that kill them and eat the grandfather. Sunday feast. So that's the ironic or tragic part, is that the father works so hard thinking he's appreciated. When he can no longer provide, the family begins to treat him differently. I used to work at an old people's home, and you see that everywhere. The father and the mother, they're neglected for months on end sometimes. The children never come to visit. They're not grateful for what their mom and father has done. So the poor man, he works so hard, thinking that's another misconception, that the father thinks when I'm elderly, my children are gonna take care of me. But in this day and age, in this Kali Yuga, the family, they're interested in two things: working and family life. That's it. And their family life is so small. They're small circle. It consists of the wife, then the children, and that's it. So can you imagine working hard day and night to maintain the family relations, and at the end they kill you? So that's tragic. And the husband is the maintainer and protector of the wife. Srila Prabhupada said there's symptoms, decorations, or ornaments on a person to indicate their status. A sacred thread is a symbol that this man has a spiritual master. And a married woman, you can tell by having red paint on her forehead. And Prabhupada said there's partition in the hair in the middle. And when she's dressed nicely, it means that the husband is home. And when she's not dressed nicely, the father is out of home. And so the wife, she was chaste and faithful to the husband. And the husband was first-class gentleman. And so usually the man works and leads the relationships in the marriage. But nowadays, the man is so infatuated or bewildered that he becomes like a dancing dog in the hands of a woman. You know, you see that a lot in Balboa Park. The man is interested in getting a book, but the woman, the wife or the girlfriend, she pulls the man. And then the man has no say in it. So he's just following the demands of the wife. Why? Because he doesn't want to disrupt their relationship. He's afraid of the girl going towards someone else. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it describes that in Kali Yuga, marriages and relationships are built on the foundation of sex. That's it. And if there's a disturbance, there's divorce. And that a man is considered successful if he can maintain his family life. And so, where's the question of Krishna consciousness? Where is the question of finding love of God? Where is making time to search for answers about life? So it's not uncommon now to see people just satisfied with the job. Not even a career, but a job, a dead-end job. And they're satisfied with that. And to make ends meet. And the danger is that the man becomes attached to the woman. And Srila Prabhupada says in a purport that the material bondage of this world is that a beautiful woman can captivate a handsome man, and a handsome man can captivate a beautiful woman. You know, to get a girl, it's not so hard. You just got to put on some cologne, comb your hair, shave, and that's it. Speak some nice words. So starting a relationship is not very difficult, but maintaining that relationship is. And breaking it is even more easier, right? And so, Srila Prabhupada, he said this famous quote, "If one can remain brahmachari, he saves himself so much trouble in material existence." I met this Indian mother yesterday. You know, I know everything, right? That's the response. So I was offering her a few of our other books, and she said, no, I know about this. I'm Hindu. And then she said, I'm a true Brahmin. I said, oh, nice. And then the son came over and said, my son, he's going to get his sacred thread. And so he pulls out his necklace. It was a black kind thread and with the Om sign. And then I showed, and then I said, oh, is it like this? And then she said, are you a Brahmin? And I said, I'm trying to. And then she said, I have a small statue of Krishna. And she said, like this big. And she said, I do puja every day. I said, that's very nice, Mataji. So I invited her to the temple and I showed her pictures of our beautiful deities, Shri Shirada Giridhari. And then I told them that I dress our deities, Gaura and Nitai sometimes, and Lord Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra. And she was very amazed. And then when she asked me, do you have a family? The man, or the son he picked up, he said, Mom, he's a brahmachari. And the mother stayed quiet. And then the son asked me, you don't want a family? And I said, no. And I told the mom, I don't want to be entangled in family life. And then so the boy smiled. He took a set of books. He gave a donation. And as they were leaving, the boy, he gave me pranams. Yeah. So I smiled. And in the Shastras, it says that if one has money, one should divide all that has accumulated into 3 divisions. 1 part for religion, 1 part for reputation, 1 part for opulence, 1 part for sense gratification, and 1 part to maintain the family members of the family members. But at the present, because people have no knowledge, they spend all their money for the satisfaction of their family. You know, Prabhupada would call the wife, the kids, and the relatives thieves in the disguise of family members. The Bhagavatam. Yeah, you know, legal thieves. The wife is asking, please give me $500. And the poor man, he can barely pay rent. He said, okay. So stealing from the man in front of his face, but he doesn't see it like that. And Srila Rupa Goswami, he taught us by his own example. He used 50% of his earning for Krishna, 25% for his own self, and 25% for the members of the family. And who is a good example of someone that gave in charity? A Mahajan. Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj, this is one of my favorite pastimes too. He said, many men have laid down their lives on the battlefield, being unafraid of fighting, but rarely has one gotten the chance to give his accumulated wealth faithfully to a saintly person who craves holy places. And it's rare to find a person who will give up all of his property and his accumulated wealth in charity to a person worthy of the gift. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it starts describing that there is nothing more sinful than untruthfulness. Because of this, Mother Earth once said, I can bear any heavy thing except a person who is a liar. Pretty heavy, huh? So the earth, there's many great mountains and oceans on the surface, and she doesn't feel burdened by it. But she feels very much overburdened when she carries one person who is a liar. Anyway, the king is a protector of all his subjects. And great examples were Lord Ramachandra, Yudhishthira Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, so many wonderful kings that showed compassion to the citizens. When Bali Maharaj was arrested by Vamanadev, he said, I do not fear hell, poverty, an ocean of distress, fall down from my position, or even death itself, as much as I fear cheating a Brahmana. This was the quality of Bali Maharaj. So these are the qualities and characteristics we should strive for, to be merciful to the poor, ignorant, and conditioned souls that we meet. So the parents are the protectors of the children, the husband is the protector of the wife, the householder provides for the brahmanas, the learned is the friend of the ignorant, and the king is the protector of the citizens. But who maintains all of them? Krishna. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarva lokam heshvaram suridam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shamtim richate. That a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all plants and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So Krishna is a true maintainer, protector, and shelter for all. He's our best friend, and depending on our surrender, he will protect us. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yishyami masuchaha. Krishna says, abandon all religions or duties and surrender to Krishna. He will protect us. He'll deliver us from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. And the last one I saved, the learned is the friend to the ignorant. And so I'll tell a few Sankirtan stories. When you go on book distribution, you meet so many people from many different walks of life. And the most difficult ones to bring to the table are the elderly people, right? I don't need that. I know everything. And there's a saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but once he learns, he never forgets. So there was this one man, he came to my table, and I told him, you're not getting any younger. I smiled, and then he looked at me and said, you're right. So I told him, you should give these books a chance. One book can change your life. He said, what book should I get? So I gave him Beyond Birth and Death and Coming Back. I told him you should understand the science of reincarnation. What will be the future in your next life? And we started discussing about karma, the laws of action and reaction. And he found it to be very interesting. He asked me how much. And I said, you can give whatever you like. He gave a donation and he walked away. Later on, the same man, he came back to my table and said, you know, I really appreciate our conversation. So I shook his hand and I thanked him. And there was a parent yesterday. He was with his little boy, his son. And, you know, it's fine to show affection, but to be overly attached to your child, it will create distress in the future. So I asked him, what happens when your son asks you questions? Like, what's the purpose of life? And what happens when I die? The man, he paused and he said, I have answers for him. And I said, what are your answers? He said, that's for me to know. And he walked away. So, and I was looking at this man and I was thinking, he's not going to tell his child, you're going to die one day. He's going to tell him to work hard like me, to get a better position than I have in society, but he never tells them that one day you're going to have to leave your body. See? They put them in this illusion. And so when we get an opportunity to talk to people, we should implant a seed of curiosity or even a seed of doubt in their mind. There was this boy, he came to my table and I was offering him a pamphlet. He said, no thanks. He was probably 20s, 30s. And then I asked him, how come you don't want to take one? He said, you already gave me one. I said, really? And he said, yeah, on October 27th, you said I should kill myself. Yeah. And I said, what do you mean? And then, because we were discussing what is the purpose of life. So he said, there's no purpose. So I said, why not just end your life? So that day, he started thinking about it. Yeah. And then he said, till this day, I'm still thinking about what is the purpose of life. So I gave him something to think about, not just go happy, go lucky type of life. You know. And then so, let me see. I met this, when I was setting up last Friday, my first person that came to my table, she was a Mataji. Her name was Brenda. And we were talking, and I mentioned, how is your mind treating you? And then she started crying. And then I said, is everything okay? She said, my father just passed away. So I was showing her some verses in the Bhagavad Gita. And I told her the soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. And I told her the soul is so powerful it transcends death. I told her your father's still out there somewhere. And she said, I always thought about reincarnation. Is it true? So I showed her the Bhagavad Gita and all of our books. She took a lot of books, actually. And then she said, how much for the books? I said, you can give a donation. She took out her card and she gave $100, like that. And then I said, I'm sorry, I don't have a bag to put them in. She said, no, I'll tell you something weird. Someone told me to come to the park. She had two options. One was to go to her friend's house, or two, go to the park. And then she said, I brought this empty bag with me. Yeah, she had an empty bag and it fit perfectly. And then so I was just thinking how wonderful and amazing Krishna is. And yesterday I met this writer. She was a writer. And I asked her, how long does it take to write a book? And her friends started laughing. Balaram knows, Vijay Prabhu knows. The process of writing a book, it's a big endeavor. So I was showing her Srila Prabhupada. And I said, this gentleman, he came to the West at the advanced age of 69, 70. He had 2 heart attacks. He had no contacts, no money, basically. And then when I was telling her how Srila Prabhupada wrote so many books all by himself, translated the Sanskrit language, they started appreciating the books. And they took a book, both of them took a Bhagavad Gita, they took Hiding in Unnatural Happiness, and I gave them the little 5-set books. They were so happy. And so I told her, when you write a book next time, mention this Bhagavad Gita. And she said, yes, I will. And I was talking to some lady yesterday, and another lady came by my table, and she said, thank you. You gave me 3 books. And she said, I started reading the cookbook, and now we're all vegetarians. Thank you. And she walked away. And the lady at my table, she was like, what the hell is that? You know, it looks like it was staged, you know. I paid this lady to say that and to just walk away. And so the person, she was wondering, wow, like people take these books, and I told her, you'll be surprised. And to conclude, I would like to read a text message that I got a few days ago. Sometimes I give my contact information just to see who will contact me. So this text message, it said, good morning, Govi. When I introduce myself to the park, I say my name is Govi, because some of the devotees here call me Govi. They can't pronounce Govardhan. So she said, good morning, Govi. My name is Larla. You met my boyfriend and I at Balboa Park in late October, and you gave us 3 books, including Hiding in Unnatural Happiness. I finished the book and am reaching out to express my gratitude to you. Swami is a phenomenal writer and guide. I learned so much. I started the book in November while working on a farm. It was a very spiritual experience, and I kept thinking I needed to speak with you again. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a text message from this lady. So I invited her to the temple, but they live in Los Angeles. So I told her to check the back of the Bhagavad Gita, and she'll find the centers there. Mm-hmm. I texted her back with the links of Maharaj's Devamrita Swami's lectures. And so I have good and bad news, depending on how you see it. I'm going to be traveling to Singapore, Myanmar, and then India with my spiritual master, His Holiness Badrinarayan Swami Maharaj. I get to serve him in the Holy Dham. So I'll be gone for 2.5 months. So this is my last class. So it's good news or bad news for the devotees. And I just want to thank everyone for tolerating me. and for giving me the opportunity to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. And please forgive my offenses. And I hope to see all of you at the end of March. Hare Krishna. Is there any questions, comments, corrections? Yes, Dravida Prabhu.
Whenever I hear anything in the class about the responsibility for the children to take care of the parents, I always think of this passage in the Krishna book, where Krishna is speaking to his parents, Devaki and Vasudeva, after he released them from the jail after he killed Kamsa. And he says, okay. Oh boy, I lost it. Anyway, the point is that he's saying that any son who does not take care of his parents after they're old and frail, goes to, if he can take care of them and care for them, then he goes to hell and has to eat his own flesh. So this could be a real deterrent. People not, if they believe it. But this is the. But one of the things I was also thinking of is that one of the problems in even if the parents know how to raise the children and so forth, there's so many inputs to their the cell phone and so many other things that are training them, that are giving them so many ideas of what to do. It's very difficult to have a controlled environment where you can train the children properly to be devotees. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things we face. Of course, the best antidote to that is book distribution. Give them that that other, and that's the best association they can get. But it's just so wild, the information environment we live in, and it's very degrading all around.
Mm-hmm. There was a family of devotees yesterday. I think the little boy's name is Nimai. They come here to the Sunday feast sometimes. And so he saw my book table. I put my books on display, So the people on the left and right, they see the titles of the books. And I asked him, do you like my book table? He said, yeah, I love it. I would buy billions of books from you like that. Just by the display or the presentation of the books. And then, he said, I want to do books one day like that. So I said, you should. Any comments? Anything else? Anyone from Joom?
Yes, Govardhan Prabhu, may I?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. You're very kind. Dandavat pranams. Prabhu, today you recited text 12, no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so in the translation I see that the learned is the friend of the ignorant. So based on this quote, my question is, what is the importance of being learned?
Well, there's a lot of advantages of being learned. You know what is right from wrong. Basically, you learn that you don't want to meet Yamaraj. That's the most important part. But a learned person just means to know, what am I supposed to do in this world? What should I be striving for? And if a person doesn't know that, his Prabhupada would say, the blind leading the blind. He doesn't know how to guide society, and he himself is putting himself in so much danger, misery in the future. And so a learned person, okay. Dravida Prabhu, can you emphasize?
Well, the first thing is, what is a learned person? Because there's that famous verse, Namam Daskrita Nomudha, Papajinte Nadaram Mahi Apurita Gyana Asuram Bhavanashita. Krishna says, if they're not surrendered to me, then even though they may be Kritana, mean that they are they know a lot of material things, their knowledge is stolen by illusion, and they're really fools and rascals. So that's the first thing, is that the learned one is someone like this guru or sadhu, someone who can actually give someone the clue as to their real benefit and give them real knowledge to help. Otherwise, it's just the blind leading the blind, as you said. They may, the first blind person may be very eloquent and may have a degree in so many things, but they're really misleading people because they're not giving them actual knowledge. And another thing I was thinking of is the ignorance is the root of sin. You find that in the Nectar Devotion near the beginning. How do we? Because you don't know, or you may have been taught, but you don't believe it. Because you have to know it, and you have to believe that sinning is going to give me suffering. Therefore, I won't do it, even though it may be immediately pleasurable. So, someone who's learned in all these things can actually benefit those and protect them from their own worst instincts. The children growing up, they're like animals, like parents. They don't go in the street, don't eat this, don't do this, right? So rather this, so it's the same principle as you grow up. Is that the actual those who are learned in the spiritual knowledge and are willing to give it, the acharyas, are the best friends of humanity, and so they're the protectors and protecting them against the hazards of living in this world completely ignorant of who you are and what's dangerous and so forth. Mm-hmm. So that was
Dravida Prabhu, thank you very much for that. And if I may, there's a shloka in Bhagavad Gita chanted by Krishna to Arjuna, where we find Lord Krishna chanting that if you die covered by the mode of ignorance, you will surely take birth in the animal kingdom. I think we need to take that shloka in consideration related to how much related to the importance of being learned.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Prabhu, Govardhana Prabhu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your contribution.
You're welcome.
Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Govardhan ji ki jai. Have a safe and fruitful trip and come back safely with Maharaj. Haribol.